Okay, so we're at the live stream for the DLC, the Dutch Lions Cup 2019. My name is Matthys Kool. I'm here together with Michel Rensen.
Hi.
And we will be doing the commentary for the finals with all the knowledge that we have, as best as we can do. We're now waiting for the fight to start. We have a couple of minutes left before we get started.
Exactly 1 minute at the time of speaking.
Exactly 1 minute, and I'm actually excited because we have a couple of new people in the finals. In the Open, actually, someone I haven't seen in 5 years in any Western European or Northern European tournaments. That's quite exciting. For the schedule for tonight, we're going to start off with the bronze match between Cynthia and Michela. And after that, we'll do the bronze match between Oskar and Arto. Next will be the gold match for the ladies between Carla and Johanna, and then the gold for open between Jan and Mikko. We're now waiting for...
Okay, welcome to the first final from this evening. It's the third place, and it's between Cynthia Kop from the Zwartkring and Michela D'Orlando of the Ordina della Lames Caligere. I've been practicing. May I have the referees and the judges so that the referee can start the fight. The fight will be 3 rounds, 3 minutes, fight. Or a 12-point cap.
First fight between Michela and Cynthia. Michela has been quite well known in the HEMA scene for, well, years, so she hardly needs an introduction. Cynthia Kop has been quite prolific in the Netherlands the past 2 years or so.
Yeah, Cynthia has been doing really well in the Dutch Championships as well. So it's cool to see her now make it to at least the bronze match in the DLC, facing a couple of international fencers. I'm waiting for some technical issues, but we'll be fine.
There's always technical issues.
It's not an event if there's no technical issue.
I mean, we are on time, so we need technical issues.
Yeah. And we'll just wait for the computers to be fixed.
Yeah, they're doing their thing.
We actually had 16 ladies fighting in our tournament today, which we're very happy with the number because we had 16 great fencers giving some great fights as well.
Compared to the past few years, where it was a bit more difficult to get women competitors, this year it's streamed full in a matter of days. Yep. So it's a really nice change of pace to see so many women signing up.
Yeah, and a lot of internationals also. It's not only a Dutch field; it's a very international field. Our ladies competition, so that was awesome. We had Poles and Germans and French and Italians. What else do we have?
I'm not sure how many more flavors we.
I thought we had some more. I'll think of more.
Just insert blank country name here.
An American Norwegian.
Yeah.
Because Christine Konsman was here as well.
Looks like we're really about to start right now.
We are. Siegfried will be the ref for this match. Start off with a head hit for Michela, I think. See what the judges think.
Not quite.
We have a system where we have 2 judges and 1 ref. They all have an equal vote, so all 3 of them can call the hit basically. And they also all 3 have a vote when it comes to the score.
There's a hit to the side, and Cynthia tries to get an after blow in, but I would say it's a bit too late.
3 points blue, 2 points red. 3 points blue, 2 points red.
Because of the shape of the fields this year, compared to last year's where they were much bigger and also round, and now they're more like strips, so there's less circling and more direct action going on.
Yes, there's a couple of reasons why we chose for these fields. The fields are actually 8 by 4 meter, looking more like a lane than like a square as often used. One of our reasons was that the fighters don't get to circle as much, which makes it easier for judges to keep a good view on the fighting.
Otherwise, it was basically the 100-meter sprint in judging.
Yeah. The other reason being that we want people to come here to fight instead of to run away from their opponent, because that tends to happen.
So this makes fighting a lot more direct, as you can see here in practice. That's a
very nice thrust from Cynthia. At the moment, Michela is leading with 6-3. Make that 6-4, because Cynthia just scored a point with that thrust.
Cynthia attempted a Mutiran there, but her point went a bit wide and she missed.
Yeah, the shape of the field does mean that fighters often end up in the middle and sort of trade blows, because a lot of fencers still need to get used to the fact that you can actually circle in this field, just not as freely as we were used to. So fighters tend to stay in the middle, but I've seen a lot of movement as well.
I mean, it's not like a strip in Olympic fencing where you literally have no side-to-side area. You do have some space to move around.
Yeah.
Right now, Cynthia is walking into the space a bit too much, which Michela makes ample use of. And of course, Cynthia is a slightly shorter fighter, which means that she has to get into that space. But it might be better if she actually did it with an attack, as opposed to just waiting.
Yeah, sometimes you see often where people approach within distance and then wait for the other person to do something. And if you parry that cut and then do something, that's a great technique, great action. But often they step in and then get hit before they hit the other person, which is not such a great technique.
Oh, when you choose for that sort of tactic, then you are relying on your reaction speed as opposed to technique.
The rules also are that we have 3 points for cuts and thrusts to the head. It's 2 points for cuts and thrusts everywhere else. And also thrusts to the torso are 3 points as well. So 3 points for cuts and thrusts to the head and thrusts to the torso. And single-handed actions, if done outside of wrestling, are scored only 1 point. If you're controlling your opponent's blade or your opponent, then you get the full value points.
What's different this year compared to the previous years in DLC is that previous years your afterblow was only counted if you managed to hit a deep target, so the thrust to the torso or the hit to the head. This year that rule's been overturned and now you just score the points that you hit. So even a shallow target hit is still counted as an afterblow and the points are subtracted.
Yeah.
So whoever has the higher point total still gains a point.
Yeah.
1 minute.
And we're going into the second round.
So the first round
Cynthia
was
comes
for
in
Michela.
very aggressively.
Cynthia knows that she has to take this round, otherwise she's out of the tournament.
Yeah, Cynthia tends to fight very aggressively generally. She tends to start moving forward and doesn't stop until the halt's called. She usually overpowers people by the pressure that she puts on fencers.
Of course, with Michela that's a bit more difficult because she's used to tournament scene. She has a lot of experience, so pressure isn't really going to put her into any real pressure.
No, and Michela has the big advantage of being about a head and a half taller, which
Quite a bit taller.
which absolutely makes it easier. But Cynthia's doing a good job so far.
The problem here was that Michela was going for an opening but ignoring the obvious threat to the head.
Yeah. Cynthia's now leading with 6 points already, so that's a strong lead beginning of the round. We have just over 2 minutes left, just under 2 minutes, sorry. Michela landing the first hits, but then not defending herself against the afterblow.
I think Michela's getting wise to it though, because right now she's gaining a bit again.
Yeah.
Cynthia might be getting a bit too eager now because
Yes,
she got a couple of hits, so she thinks that rushing in now is a good idea, and she needs that point advantage. But right now she's
behind 1 point actually. No, okay, so what Michela's doing really well is because since Michela's taller, she has a longer reach, and the moment Cynthia enters her reach, she can hit her, but Cynthia won't be able to hit Michela, and she's doing that great way. She comes in, lands the hit, and then steps away before Cynthia gets to land her own hit.
And size difference shouldn't really matter that much because the swords are, exactly the same length.
Of course, so the swords are the same length, but still, if you're taller with longer arms and longer legs, you do have more reach, and it's easier to get that. Especially like even if it's only 10 centimeters, you still have the advantage.
Yeah, you have the advantage when you in terms of the deep targets, but if you're shorter, just go for the hands.
No, yeah, absolutely, but. A lot of fencers in tournaments actually are very head horny, as we say. They really want to go for the deeper targets, which is admirable. But sometimes you need to decide to chop someone's hand off. Like you don't always have to go for deeper targets. They are worth more, but there's more risk.
Of course, I say this, but I'm quite head horny myself.
Yeah.
So.
And we have 15 seconds left with 7-9 for Michela at the moment.
Cynthia might be getting.
2 points each. Last exchange, Cynthia needs to score a head hit or a clean 2-pointer to stay in the race. Because if she scores the points now clean,
and that might actually tide it over for her.
That was a very, very cool thrust. Let's see what the other judges
We
saying.
might be getting into a round 3.
3 points red.
Yes, we're going into a round 3.
That was a very, very nice. I would say it's a shield hopper without a thumb grip. Shall we call it?
We call it a shield hopper
without a thumb grip. Yeah, shield hopper without a thumb grip. It was a short edge cut over the top, landing a thrust on the chest, and Michela cut into it, hitting the cross guard. So that was really, really well done. Nice combat for Cynthia.
Yeah. So now they're going to want it equally as badly.
Yeah, we have there's a couple of events who do tournament who do the finals different than this. We like to do finals of consisting best of 3 rounds, where each fight is fought separately as an actual round. So you can win a round or you can lose a round, and then you have to focus on the next one to either keep up the good work or do better.
Otherwise, it might be a bit too disheartening to see that you're already 12 points behind and you have to keep, get it back before you can actually
and also
start
the fighting
gaining.
changes. Yeah, if someone has a good lead, if someone's leading with a lot of points, they tend to fight very differently than if it's a closer call. So if someone's leading with a number of points, they can take certain risks, or they might actually choose for the gaming tactics and just landing doubles or landing hits that don't score too many points just to keep their lead.
Likewise, if you're way behind in points and it's still the first round, you can choose to just take a breather and not go into it because you won't be able to overtake it anyway. You can then rest for the second round.
Yep. I mean, you should always try to win, but there's a point where you can decide to save your energy for another round. So knowing this as a fighter, it actually, you fight differently each round, and sometimes you decide to save your energy in the first one to go harder in the second and third. And I know that's a tactic used against me at some point because I have a bit of issues in my arm. So for Saber, third rounds are super tough for me. And I know a couple of guys who've abused this. That they just kind of go the first round and they screw me over in the second and third. So that happens. Thank you,
Just
Thompson.
wait for his arms to tire out. I can see it happening.
Yeah. This means I'm gonna hit harder though. So if I do hit, something bad's gonna happen. All right, we're almost ready for the third round. We gave them a little bit more rest this time.
Yeah, so they're both going to be quite hungry now, and they're on equal footing. Both have a round, so this is the deciding round.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's see what happens.
That is a very nice
There
thrust.
was a hand hit for Michela before that though.
I heard wood, so I think it was the grip.
Okay.
But it was
that might have been.
It's really, really hard to spot when you're a judge.
Unclear exchange.
And see, that's the advantage of being a bit shorter. You can actually get under the block of a taller person.
Yep. Well done. So now getting a 3-0 lead. Michela needs to change her game if she wants to be sure to take this.
But again, Michela is really experienced in this sort of thing. She has been in this position before.
Yeah, Michela is a good fighter, and what I like about her also is that she's an actual fighter. I mean, she usually lands solid hits. She doesn't just tippy tappy. So she generally solid structure in her cuts, and it's something I like with some other fighters where. You know, we don't have to bludgeon each other, but you do want to land an actual hit, and she tends to do that usually.
Yeah, it's always nice to see a bit of intention in strikes.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
As long as you're not caving in someone's mask.
No, and what I find important is that if you can see someone make a cutting motion, that the cut doesn't need to be very hard, as long as you can see that they could have done it harder if they would have wanted to.
Yeah.
We have an unclear exchange. The moment score is 3-2 for Cynthia.
This can still go in a direction.
Yes, and they're just trading blows at this point.
2 points each. 2 points each.
And sometimes you get into those fights where it's just basically a match of who gets the higher hit.
Yeah. When that happens, it's not always the prettiest, but it happens.
Yeah, this happens when tensions rise. I mean, you get stressed, and I get the same thing.
Yes.
I get extremely stressed, and then stuff like this starts happening. You sort of start hitting.
I mean, fighting is emotion. So what happens? Michela threw a cut. She missed her initial cut, and Cynthia walked over with a thrust landing on the bip, I believe, which gets her into a 6-4 lead for
I
this
think
round.
she almost hit the judge there. You don't get points for that, by the way.
I mean, they should be quick on their feet, to be honest, but that was another double, if you ask me, both in the hands.
Yes.
2-2 score. It's a 6-6 tie. We're now in 2 minutes 40, so we're almost going for last exchanges. See what this is being called as.
And see, this is where Michela's size and weight difference comes into play as well, because she was able to push Cynthia a bit out of the way.
And we're now going to the last exchange. It's a 6-6 draw.
Even Steven
Both
right
one
now.
round.
We'll see what happens. And I think that would be 3 points red, 2 points blue.
And the judges only saw the points for Cynthia, and that gives Cynthia the match. The Italian team doesn't seem too happy with the call, but she does salute. That's just something I admire in fighters, where even if they disagree with the call, they still salute the fighters, they still salute the judges. There's too many people who don't, and that's a shame, because that should never happen.
There's no amount of frustration justifies not greeting not saluting the other fencer at the end.
No, absolutely. Next up, we have the bronze final for the Open tournament, where we have Oskar and Arto Fama. Funny enough, both fighters are from the clubs that we're from. Oskar is fighting with the HVN, my club, and Arto Fama is fighting with Steen, which is Michel's club.
So
Michel,
we're
Arto
going to be really invested in this.
Yeah, we'll keep it neutral from here. No, actually, Arto and Michel fought earlier in the tournament. How'd that go, Michel?
Well, obviously not good enough for me. No, it was a really nice fight. I fought him a few times before. Sometimes it goes my way, and sometimes it goes his. And this time it definitely went his way.
Yeah, because I think last time was for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just he's just really sharp today. Really on his game.
Yeah, he's been fighting really well. It must be because of his gloves. You might get a good look at those at some point.
And from historisch schrijfweg in Nederland, Oskar de Mors. Organizing parties. So gentlemen, have a lot of fun. Referee, as soon as you're ready.
So throughout the tournament, I've been watching both the fighters, and I must say that Oskar's been fighting really tight this day as well. Like solid cuts, no unnecessary motions. So he's been pretty, he's been fighting really well today.
Sometimes I see a discrepancy between how he fights in sparring and how he fights in tournaments. When I fight him in sparring, he's tough as heck, and when I fight him in tournaments, he's also tough as heck. But sometimes he seems to tense up a bit and not do quite as well.
No, absolutely.
But sometimes he just has a really good day, and looks like today was one of those.
Yeah. No, he does struggle sometimes with the tournament scene. That's an interesting thing between some fighters where if you fence them in free sparring, they do amazing things and they're very difficult to fight. And then in tournament, they don't know how to deal with it. On the other hand, there's a couple of fencers the other way around. They feel super comfortable in tournament. And in sparring, they're not as focused. And
it should be pointed out, just as a side note, that Arto is wearing pro gauntlets. It's still a prototype, but it's actually coming on. It's on its way nowadays. So we'll be able to see them more widespread in the community soon.
He came in and managed to grab Oskar's blade. I think there was contact from Oskar before, but it might have been flat as well. So now it's a 5-3 for Oskar at this point. Both fighters cutting to the hands, defending the other cuts thrown at them.
2 points each.
2 points each. We have Magnus Lundberg flew all the way to the Netherlands to be a referee in our tournament, and he's been doing a really good job. It's nice to bring the Nordic scene to the Netherlands because we based a lot of our stuff heavily on things being done in the Nordics. To be honest, the way we have our fields actually was copied from Örebro, where Carl Ruberg started using this in his tournament.
It's a very clean thrust by Arto in the shoulder of Oskar and parrying the afterblow as well.
Yeah, that was really well done. It's now 7-6. So also see the difference in style between some fighters, how they respond to pressure or how they build up pressure.
Yeah. Arto's basically just going forward very, very slowly and building up the pressure that way by really making threats towards the other person and giving you very little space to work with.
We still have a 7-7 tie at this point, and it stays a 7-7 tie.
Less than a minute to go.
Yeah. Both Arto and Oskar are also instructors in their own clubs, so it's very nice to see them fighting so cleanly. That's a very nice thrust from Arto. Yeah, absolutely. 3 points red, and we have half a minute left with Oskar needing to do something for himself. Now coming back. There's a disarm, no yet, they both grab the weapon.
And now they're wrestling, which of course Oskar is really good at because of his master experience, but this time...
Yeah, but gear came off, so we'll see what the judges thought of it.
Yeah.
As gear came off before the exchange ended, they are awarding points for it, so it will be 13 points for red, ending up in an unbeatable lead for Arto with only 3 points to gain in this last exchange for Arto. For Oskar, sorry.
And looks like Arto is really relaxed right now, fighting just in a very, very relaxed fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No points. And it ends the first round. First round went to Arto. And we got a 2-minute break now for the fighters to get some rest. Because during the tournament we actually did not have a point cap on any of the fights, so all the fights went a full 3 minutes, which is quite tiring. So to make sure that we get 3 proper rounds now, we decided to get a point cap and to add 2-minute break in between the fights instead of a 1-minute break.
If I were fighting, I'm not sure if I would appreciate it or not, because sometimes you can get quite tired, but sometimes I also kind of want to keep going and not get out of the fight mood, basically.
Absolutely.
And usually, because it takes a bit of time for me to get my mask on and off, I even just leave my mask on if I'm not too tired.
Yeah. I tend to take my mask off because I overheat ridiculously, so I need to get my mask off. No, I think like a minute is fine, but I think 2 minutes is just with the heavy warm day that we've had today. I think it's nice for the fighters. Of course, everyone has different preferences for when it comes to this.
Yeah. And for this, it's better to err on the side of caution. I mean, 2 minutes is not that bad.
No. Arto decided to do some yoga on the side.
Okay, so next year we have to buy DLC yoga mats as well.
Yeah, maybe we should. connecting with our Polish visitors. For the overall tournament today, we actually had 70 fighters in the open, ending up with 10 pools of 7 fighters. It's one of the selling points of DLC to have large pools with preferably 7, and in the end we end up with some pools of 6. But this is a way to make sure that people get enough fights to get their money's worth for travel.
It's always a bit annoying if you travel hundreds of kilometers and then you get 3 fights.
Yeah,
And this is
absolutely.
you get you get value for money here.
Yep. Going for the next round. Let's see what the gentleman have to offer.
Very nice exchange so far.
Yeah, I thought there was a hit on one side, but the judges disagree. Like my issue with certain blade grabs is that if there's a cut and you then grab the blade, should you be able to continue? Because you are holding someone's blade after, maybe getting a hit land on you. But the judges didn't think that the cut from Oskar was good enough.
And blades grabs is basically what Arto used quite a bit to knock me out of this tournament, and it's very effective because you sort of start desperately going after your own blade.
No, of course, it's definitely allowed to grab a blade if the blade has stopped moving, but not if it stopped moving on you. I think that's something that we need to be clear on.
Yeah, I mean you can't grab a blade if your hand is gone.
No, well, fair enough.
3-point grab.
We have a rule about low quality. If a hit's not good enough, either with a flat or it's too soft, then the judges and referee can decide to maybe call it because they saw the contact, and then decide not to award points. Which is what you see sometimes.
Unclear exchange.
It's very nice to see these 2 fighters respecting each other's initiative as well. You can see a very clear back and forth.
Nice, clean feint up by Oskar with a cut towards the arm for him.
2 points blue.
We're now on a 6-4 lead for Arto.
Getting Oskar back into striking distance of the lead.
Yes, Arto's very good with his thrust, where he comes in and feints with a cut, ends up with a thrust. And Oskar's been hit by that for I think a number of times already. He needs to make sure to be not in the center when he comes in.
Well, he also needs to make sure that he actually seizes the initiative and not try to counter. Because if you give Arto any room to move, then he's going to move, and that move is going towards your brain.
Yeah. Well, and also something that finds a lot of people difficult is to sidestep. It's easy when someone thrusts at you to just. It's not easy, but if you stay where you are, even stepping back, it's still easy to get hit. You need to move away.
Yeah, someone explosively moving forwards with the point extended in front of them is going to be faster than you stepping back.
Point gap.
Points, time.
Looks like Arto got bronze.
We have a winner for the bronze match. It's Arto Fama. And fighters salute each other. That is the end of this fight. Next fight we have the gold final for the ladies. It's a gold final for the ladies between Carla Huvermann and Johanna Hopfgartner.
Hopfgartner.
Hopfgartner. I couldn't even read my own handwriting. Hopfgartner. And
The H.
Hopf.
Yeah, Hopfgartner.
Hopfgartner.
Yeah.
My apologies. Johanna Hopfgartner.
All these foreign languages, they're like Chinese to us, except German.
Exactly. And Carla Huvermann is not new here. She's fought here a couple of times. And
I think she even medaled once or twice.
Yes, I'm sure she did. I don't remember the exact placements from last year anymore. But no, I know she did really well.
This is the first time that Johanna Hopfgartner came to the Netherlands, and she's doing very well on her first try.
She is, yeah. I really like the way she moves. She's one of those fencers who, from the get-go, sticks to her fighting style. She doesn't change much between starting in her corner and ending up in an exchange. Some fighters, they are posing when they are out of distance, and when they get in distance, they completely change the way they move. And for her, that's not the case. I like that she fights quite cleanly and moves cleanly throughout the round. And Carla, of course, has medaled in swordfish as well, so she's a well-known lady competitor in at least the European scene.
Easily identified by the angel wings on the back of her jacket.
Yeah, I was really wondering whether they were angel wings or like hussar wings or something.
Hussar wings might be a bit more fearsome.
No, maybe.
On the other hand, if you have an angry angel bearing down on you, I think that's quite scary as well.
Yeah, they're said to be powerful.
They're wings. They're just
Yeah,
wings. Okay.
they're wings. She's easily identifiable by the wings on her back. It's just just got the semantics. We seem to have a technical difficulty again, or is it fixed? I think it's fixed.
Yeah. Technical difficulties don't happen here.
Johanna Hopfgartner. And from Bloomberg Golden, Carla Huvermann. May I invite the referee and the judges. And referee, when you're ready, please start.
So we're going to see slightly different styles here. Carla is a bit more solid in her approach, a slightly bigger lady as well, bigger than Johanna at least. Johanna is a bit more flowy, a bit more Meyer-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how these two styles will interact with each other.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this match. When I was watching the pool, so I was looking forward to this fight. I have a judge on my side, so I can't see much, but I heard a hit.
What I like about Johanna Hopfgartner is that she's very patient.
Yeah, she's very calm when she fences. She doesn't seem to get stressed. She fights clean and clear and lands her hits quite cleanly generally.
I'm not sure what's happening right now. There's a judge right in front.
Throws and takedowns are not allowed in tournaments. We have very thin mats. They're very solid, but they're very thin. So we don't allow throws and takedowns. So wrestling sometimes ends up in just sort of aggressive hooking.
The mats are mostly there to protect the floor from nicks from the swords.
Yeah, exactly.
Déplace-toi à droite. Caméra, plus. Déplace-toi à droite, plus. Jérôme, recule d'un pas.
Like we were talking about the angel wings on Carla, I think the panda head on Johanna kind of is recognizable as well.
Yeah, very easily identifiable. I'm not sure why we missed that at the start.
Because she wasn't wearing a mask.
Fair enough.
Like personally, I'm not a big fan of too many shenanigans when it comes to outfit. I want a clean. I prefer a clean look.
Clean, tactical.
Yeah, clean sports look instead of too many colors and all kinds of.
I'm okay with colors as long as it's.
I like something that someone can identify you by, but I've seen a couple of people walk around like clowns, and I'm not a big fan of that.
Looks like Carla figured out how Johanna is fighting, and she's really just pushing her sword in the face of Johanna, and it seems to work for now.
Yep.
So in her attack, Carla really closes the line, so the normal left overhow of Johanna doesn't really seem to connect, even though apparently it did. Remind me.
There you go. It's
just a commentator.
5-2 for Johanna at the moment, and that was a thrust from Carla, I think. If the judges agree, they seem to do. Yeah, she feinted a high, came up with the cuff from below with a thrust to the chest. That was really well done. And it's clear that Carla is the one who pressures, misses her initial action, gets hit in the head, I think. Yeah, there was contact from Carla, but the judges call it no quality, which I agree on.
Yeah, it's basically pushing with the flat.
Yes,
really.
which does not do much. Now it's something that we need to make sure that the judges understand that not all contact is a hit. There's even with the sharp or with the point, as long as you don't put pressure on your thrust, you don't put pressure behind your cut, I don't think they should count. Again, we shouldn't bludgeon each other, but we need to make sure that we're actually using swords as swords instead of as pool noodles or something.
No point.
And this ends the round. The first round is for Johanna Hopfgartner. Carla seemed to be coming back, and then Johanna managed to create some distance again and take the fight.
Yeah.
So we'll again get a rest now.
What sometimes did happen was that Johanna made her hit and then assumed that the fight was over, and then got hit later by Carla. I'm not exactly sure what the rule sets are like in Austria, but perhaps they're not as used to the after blow. And I would normally keep the adage like, if you haven't heard a stop yet, just keep on going, because people might have missed.
Yes, if I might add, I would say keep defending. I think as a fighter, if I hit someone, I expect a halt call to be made, and I wait for, while defending, wait for the call, and if not, I'll continue my attack. But I don't like fighters who sort of, just keep hitting someone until they hear a halt call, because then we often get, because there's a bit of time between the hit landing and a fighter stopping. The hit lands, judge sees it, has to call halt, ref hears it, has to go break, fighter has to hear that and then stop fencing. So there's like 7 steps between the hit being landed and the fighter stopping. So if someone, like you and I can land 4 hits in that time frame.
Yeah.
I don't think that's always necessary, because some people, they go in with a number of hits. If one of them lands, at least you get your points. But it also means that someone might get hit a couple of times after the first one properly landed already.
Especially if the other person is not used to this kind of system and sort of stops.
Yep.
I mean, if you're alert, then you can sort of absorb the hit anyway. It doesn't really matter. But if you sort of relax, then a hit connects
more,
all
yeah,
the harder.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because then the muscles aren't tensed up, and your hit might get a hit leading to concussion or something like that.
Yep.
Which is never fun.
We're about to start the second round, I think. Secret is doing great job as a ref today. She's talking to the table at the moment. In the meantime, let me talk a little bit about our sponsors. We have a number of sponsors for this event. 3 of which are sponsored with a sword. The first one is Regenia Armories. We're also using Regenia swords for the tournament. They sponsor with a special feather for the winner of the Open. We have 2 more swords. For the ladies, actually, the winner of this fight is going home with an Aureus swoosh. An Aureus is a sword brand from Poland, and the swoosh is specially designed by a high-ranked Polish female fencer, and the sword is designed for women, for ladies tournaments. And one of these ladies is going home with a beautiful Aureus swoosh. And I must say, I'm going to get one of these. Not the swoosh one, but I'm going to get one of those Aureus swords myself, because they're awesome.
They look very pretty.
And they're very heavy and stiff, but I like them a lot.
One can never have too many swords.
Absolutely. Like I keep telling my wife that, but she tends to disagree.
They can be so hard to persuade. It looks a bit like a rerun of the last.
Yep. Carla goes forward, puts pressure, and either misses her first initial cut where Johanna hits her, or lands the one and gets points. Just same setup over and over.
Johanna tends to go for the left side, finding some sort of bind and then cutting around with the left overhow.
Yeah, I think like 80% of her hits are landed with a left overhow.
And the other with an attempted wind to the left, upper left.
Yeah.
3 points red.
Yeah, she is right-handed, so it's not a case of seeing the other hand leading. But Johanna is again leading. Carla seems to be very tired after these exchanges.
It is still possible to recover from this for Carla, but it's going to be very difficult.
She has about a minute, but she needs to land clean hits. But she wants to go in. As I said earlier, some people just focus on getting a deep target instead of, for example, feigning high, taking the leg, and then covering your way out. It doesn't have to be difficult always. You sometimes need to land a good hit also to get back in the game. It really helps if you're behind. You land one solid hit, you might convince yourself to they actually still have a chance.
Yeah. And you have to really watch out for the danger of when you're not connecting to want to just go faster and harder, because that actually makes your strikes easier to see for the opponent.
And your opponent knows you have nothing left because you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I must say though that I've seen this happen with Carla before in swords at some point. She fell into a loop and didn't seem to get out of it, and it's a shame because we know she can do so much more.
Yeah, exactly.
We have one more exchange, which
so this is
which has to go to
for Johanna Hopfgartner.
Yeah, sure win for Johanna. She has 2 rounds in the pocket.
Yeah.
besides Regnier and Aureus, we also have a black fencer sword, and the black fencer company started.
I guess pandas are slightly less endangered species now.
Next match.
The panda's fighting back. Yeah, no, Black Fence is known as a nylon sword producer, of course, but they have a steel line they've been working on for quite a while, and I really like those swords. They're a bit narrow sometimes, and you need to be aware of that they're different than general feathers, but we really like them.
Ladies and gentlemen, the finals of the Open Dutch Lighters Cup between Mikko Lehto from HMS and Chodkiewicz, Huvermann.
So we have one of those swords from Black Fencer. Let's make sure they have the right colors before we get the issue of wrong colors. So we have Mikko Lehto and Chodkiewicz. Chodkiewicz is back. I haven't seen him in like, I think 5 years. His swords are longer actually.
He was like the guy to watch when I just got into this. I was watching all these live streams going, oh yeah, these are cool. This is a good
2011, I think, last time I saw him fence. Swordfish. He was there a couple of years, and he always plays really high. And he's now back in tournaments. He's been doing really well. In applaud for the fighters. In the other side, we have Mikko Lehto from EHMS, and Mikko actually comes from a buffering background, which is fighting with padded weapons, and he uses that to his advantage because he's super quick in what does especially his upper body movements, and his hand speed is incredible. We seem to have a technical issue again. I'm not quite sure what the deal is,
those don't exist.
Again, it's not an event without technical issues, and no, but it's good to see both Mikko and Johanna in the finals. It's always nice to have new fighters instead of the same fighters from other years. And Mikko's
thank
been
you,
doing.
Tees.
I mean, for the event, it's nice. You know you're a good fighter. Don't worry about it. No, but it's good to see Mikko because he's been doing really well last couple of events, and he's slowly growing into a more and more diverse fencer. And Jan is just
like old guard, basically old guard versus new guard.
Old guard, but good. And he came back strong. Like I haven't seen him fence in a long time, and I was just worried, not worried, but curious what he would do. But he landed some solid thrusts, great cuts. He really seems to be on his game. So
old definitely doesn't. Old guard definitely doesn't mean that he's not still on his game.
No, absolutely. No. Jan Chodkiewicz also makes feathers, which are pretty cool as well. He's not fighting without us, so we provide the swords.
Ready.
Jan, of course, is responsible for the Ensifer swords that are going strong for a while now. They're started respecting each other's distance. There's a lot of motion, a lot of tense action. A single-handed thrust from Jan punished by a head hit by Mikko.
3 points red.
And Mikko gets the points. It's a strong response from Mikko. He's
just basically cutting into each other.
Solid contact. I'm happy the swords are still in one piece.
There's definitely intention in that.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, there's that Chodkiewicz was a bit too eager on the thrust, rushing almost past Mikko, and Mikko punished that with.
Jan got the point though.
Really?
He did, yeah.
In that
And
case, I
there's
didn't
a
say
beautiful
anything.
distance management from Mikko. I said his original background is in buffering, and EHMS really used that to work with him and made him a more technical fencer. And now he both has the really fast buffering skills together with technical and tactical HEMA insight. He hits very hard. He is very solid. This is a fighter to watch.
1 point red.
Jan is struggling a little bit with Mikko's form. I think I don't think it's a type of fighting he's used to in Poland. because every region has their own, their own way of fighting, and he seems to struggle a little bit with what Mikko is throwing at him. A single point for Mikko for the one-handed leg strike. We have just a minute and a half left. Jan putting pressure, and Mikko makes sure that he respects his distance.
There's really solid intention from both of these fighters.
Yeah, solid cuts.
Very dynamic.
But controlled. And that's what I like. I don't mind getting hit hard. I don't mind people hitting hard in tournament as long as it's a controlled cut.
Yeah. As long as you don't hit the floor because you didn't hit.
No, exactly. Now, if people cut controlled, then that's absolutely fine. Like, swords are meant to hit with, and I don't think that we should try to make it anything else. There was a cut from Jan, punished by an afterblow by Mikko.
Yeah. He's going for the low line and not covering his head, which gave Mikko the opportunity to punish.
2 points each. And
Time.
And there's a fix Jan's collars, giving the fighters a little bit of rest. It's 7-3 at the moment with
so
Mikko.
by no means a lost case for
No, absolutely no.
Chodkiewicz.
Jan can definitely come back. He's I've seen him come back earlier today after being behind in points. So this is definitely an option. And Mikko really needs to watch what he does, because I don't know where Jan can just come back.
Time in.
Remember, it's only the first round. We still have maybe 2 more rounds to go. And again, there's a lot of feeling, a lot of wondering where the distance is. They're feeling each other, trying to get close and lure the other one out to make a mistake. And really, on a level like this, it becomes more a game of who makes the first mistake. Because they're both feeling, both trying to make sure that they get the right distance, right contact.
Looks like Chodkiewicz was getting a bit frustrated, striking a bit harder.
1 point red.
Yes, we definitely need to see a rise in force. Lags exchange. Now this round is for Mikko. I really hope that we get a respectful ending now. Like sometimes you see fighters, even when they know they can't win anymore, they do dumb shit. And that was a beautiful thrust from Mikko. Very, very nice. He feinted on his right side, came in on the left with a thrust. Actually countered the first afterblow, and then got hit with another one because he turned away after countering the first one.
Sometimes when your sword gets stuck, that just sort of happens. Because your sword gets stuck, you get almost pulled in a direction and you just can't block that strike anymore.
Yeah, so again we have a 2-minute break for the fighters, and I must say Mikko's looking strong.
Yes, very controlled, very explosive, and just making so much good use of Nachreisen and other sort of stuff. It's very nice to see. Very dynamic.
Yeah, and as I say, he's really quick with his upper body. So if Jan only keeps aiming at his anything above the waist, then Mikko will be out of reach. He tends to leave his feet when he moves his shoulders, though. So there's a chance if Jan manages to change his game to more of an using up and high and low targets, there's a good chance that he can surprise Mikko.
I wonder if there's going to be a change of plan or if he's going to try the same tack.
We'll see. I mean, the interesting thing is that whoever loses the first round only has something to gain. So they tend to have more pressure and more intent in the next round. And you see very often that someone who wins the first round actually loses the second because the other fencer, suddenly has to work a lot harder. And that often works. Not always, but often works.
Hey, he knows there's only one shot, so you have to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
It looks like Jan is pumped.
Yeah, they both are. The way they look now, it's not someone you want to meet somewhere in a dark alley or something. No, but I think the fighting being really nice. Like they both are clean, strong fencers, and of course the hits are hard, but the hits are true and the hits are controlled in a way. And I think that's perfectly okay. I don't think we've seen a single Zwerhau yet this round.
It just pains my heart.
Actually, I don't recall that many in the earlier rounds either. I remember last year was different. Then we had a number of them.
Quite a few.
And we start right away within distance. They immediately get into binding distance where the blades touch, and they move out and again well-controlled distance.
Quick response by Mikko.
Yeah, 2 points red. Yeah, well done. We have Jan really needs to put the pressure on now. He needs to approach Mikko and force him to do something. But Mikko's fast.
He's very good in his counters as well.
Yes, that was a solid hit. After blow on the hand. That should get Jan some points.
3 points blue, 2 points red.
Yeah, there we go. So it's 1 point for blue in total.
It's really hard to pressure either of them because they're just so on their game right now. I think just putting the pressure on blindly is not really going to work.
No, absolutely. No. And both are very, very tense and very focused on what they're doing. And as you can see, there's not space for movement on these mats. Like they move around without having to chase each other around the mat.
Hey, you don't see any endless circling, and that's pretty good.
And Jan came in with a thrust, but I think missed the thrust and then got hit by Mikko.
2 points
Mikko
red.
gaining the points for this last exchange. So we now
Getting
have
a quite comfortable lead again.
4-1 lead. Yeah, but 3 points is easy. But one solid hit, one clean hit is already enough to cover this. Mikko seemed very focused. Almost putting the point in his face, I don't know where. And a beautiful high-low combination from Mikko.
Yeah.
Like he's slowly taking him apart, one by one. And again,
Pretty great because he keeps threatening the high line and then goes for the low. So he's putting in a pattern and now going back to the high line again.
I've seen Jan do some great things today. He earlier today in one of his elimination rounds, he landed a beautiful shield.
3 points
But it's impossible to land on Mikko when he's just focused because he's so good at the distance. So
nice thrust to the
very
arm,
nice
but I
thrust.
think it wasn't seen.
Or at least not good enough. Waiting for
Second thrust was
Yes.
blocked and countered with a strike to the head.
No points.
Not
We
countered.
have Thomas Lebeau also as a judge, and he's been reffing today as well. We have both Magnus Lundberg and Thomas Lebeau as international refs today, and it's interesting to see that they both come from a different background, different tournament scene.
And they both seem to be taking well to this rule set though.
Absolutely, yeah. Some
With
take a little
plenty
bit more
of-
time to adjust, but yeah, it's
Plenty of authority to just preside over a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mikko is leading 9-1 right now, so that's
this is
going to be tough. Yeah,
insurmountable.
that gets into dangerous territory where it's not possible to get back anymore, especially with long thinking like we are now. 2 points blue. It's 9-3, 6 points. So 2 clean head hits, 2 clean thrusts should win the match, but I think Mikko just landed a nice action.
They can have a nice exchange now, but
last exchange.
And then it's it's 10-3 with the last exchange. 10-3. So this is a win for Mikko. We can maybe end on a nice action from Jan, but it's not going to get him the match in. Yes.
oh,
That was unnecessary.
that was very much uncalled
That
for.
was the hit landed, the after blow countered, and that should have ended right there.
2 points blue, timeout. 2 points blue.
There's a warning, 1 point deduction. Not that it matters much because this is the end of the final. But it's just a shame that we had to end on that last exchange because the whole tournament is going so well. But it must be frustrating.
As I said, no amount of frustration justifies that sort of thing.
No, it does not, but it is understandable.
In 5 minutes, we will reveal the prize ceremony and the final showdown of the event. So do something for yourself and be back in 5 minutes, please.
Neem aan dat nu offline is allemaal. We hebben niet zeg maar een signing off gedaan, maar...
Yeah, exactly. It's like when it started, like, oh yeah, okay, we can switch.
Ook al is het doet het nu niks meer, toch? Het is een statement dat we moeten maken. Maar ik had dus zoiets van, dat is spannend.
Ja.
Ik had ook zo steek in de arm, dat is 2 punten. Hij stond wel heel veel meer dan 2 punten achter.
Ja. Nee, ik vind het een goede statement. Het is nog het einde van het dag.
Zat hij al met stoeltjes langs de tafel? Hè? Zat hij al met stoeltjes? Ja. Hier durf ik wel. Ja, hè? Ik hoor het. Niet sneren naar iedereen. Oh, by the way, that Max guy is so annoying. In the Netherlands, everyone knows it, but we need to push it out. Like in abroad, everyone needs to know this. We're going to evangelize it. Thomas still was like, what are you telling? That you were here roughing as well. Yeah, okay, I listened that. And I think we called you good at roughing, so I think it's good. Okay, so because it was like, okay, what did you say? What did I say? I sent you the whole I'm going to... It's like for yourself.
Matthys en Michel krijgen echt onwijs veel goede opmerkingen van, ze deden het echt goed, commentaar.
Ik heb het niet gehoord.
Nee, maar je hoort het niet. Je hoort het alleen maar te luisteren. Een soort van. Het geluid schijnt goed te zijn, nou was het beeldruk. Omdat onze graphics card dacht, wie vind ik niet leuk weer, precies vandaag.
Zal ik even de sponsor noemen?
Ja, mag ik wel even een overzichtje van wie er wat gewonnen heeft?
Okie dokie, if I can have your attention, please. Can I have everyone on the bleachers in front of field 1 before I break my neck? We're going to start with the award ceremony. So can I have everyone at the bleachers so we can start with giving out the awards? And before we start with those awards, I want to mention a couple of our sponsors that have sponsored us with a number of things, from shirts to swords to vouchers. We have Fat Darms, who is sponsoring us with a bunch of t-shirts that we will see in a while. We have Black Armory sponsoring us with vouchers for a jacket, and again we'll mention these when we give out the prizes to the fighters. We have 3 swords to give away this year. Obviously there's Regenje, who sponsors the sword like he does every year, and we're very happy with that. But we also have Black Fencer and Aureus, and Aureus actually sponsors the sword for the ladies tournament, specially designed for women. So that's a really cool prize we're very happy with, and they very generously also sponsored a number of other vouchers. There's also a sword from Black Fencer, which is their new steel lines. Well, it's been running for quite a while, but we think they're great swords, and we have one of those actually to give away as well. And that having mentioned, we always forget Neyman Fencing, who sends a whole stack of vouchers for us to give away. I think overall we should be very happy with how the event went. For us, it was the first time organizing this event as a joint operation between Zwaardenstein and HVN, and I'm very happy that everything worked the way it did. So I'm very happy with the whole results and how the whole tournament went. So for me, it was a great event. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. And I'm just going down the list. I have 2 more sponsors that I need to mention. We have also vouchers from the HEMA shop, and of course, like every year, we have gloves from Sparring Glove, who is our sponsor who come back every year again to give away a set of gloves. And I think I then have mentioned all our sponsors, for which we of course are very grateful. And then it's now time to start with the finalists. We have awards for all the 4 finalists, so I will mention them all. And we are going to start with the ladies. And in 4th place, we have from Italy, Michela D'Orlando. Michela gets a Neyman voucher and a t-shirt from Fate Darms. And I really think that we should also applaud for everyone who made it to the finals instead of only the top 3. So another applause for Michela D'Orlando. In 3rd place from the Zwaard King in the Netherlands, we have Cynthia Kop. She receives of course, a medal that we will start with. Then she also gets a voucher from Aureus Swords for €55, a voucher, 20% discount from Neyman Fencing, and a t-shirt from Fate Darms. And another applause for Cynthia Kop. In 2nd place, fighting a very tough fight, we have all the way from Germany, from Grünweiß-Holten, Carla Huvermann. She receives, of course, also a Dutch Lions Club medal, and she gets a €65 voucher from Aureus Swords, 20% voucher from Neyman Fencing, a £50 voucher from HEMA shop, and a t-shirt from Fate Darms. Another applause for Carla Huvermann. And the winner of the ladies longsword, who is going to walk away with a very, very gorgeous swoosh from Aureus, is Johanna Hopfgartner from Austria Club in Des. Well done, well done. She, of course, gets a medal from the DLC. She gets the sword from Aureus, a €100 voucher from Neyman Fencing, a €100 voucher from Black Armory for one of their new jackets, and a t-shirt from Fade Darms. So I would say well worth your registration. Give a hard applause for our ladies finalists.
And because we are doing everything together, I have to take over now. None of us made dominance. We're going to the prize ceremony for the Open, and I have to speak at my paper. Top 4 ladies. Open. Number 4, Oskar Temos, HVN. And Oskar will get a Neyman Fencing voucher, 10%, and a t-shirt from Fed Arms. Then we go to the number 3, Arto Fama, Zwaard en Steen. And Arto will get a €55 Aureus Swords voucher, a voucher 20% discount, Neyman, and a t-shirt, Fed Arm. Then the number 2, Jan Chodkiewicz, Vechtschule Gdansk. And Jan will get a voucher, €65 Aureus Swords, a medal, of course, a voucher 20 discount, Neyman Fencing, a €50 voucher from the HEMA shop, and a t-shirt from Fed Arms. And now we proceed to the number 1 from the Dutch Lions Cup 2019. Mikko Lehto, EHMS Finland. And what will he receive? He will receive a gold medal, of course. And the famous Regenier lion sword. And this time it's a fader sword and not a blunt, so you can really use it. But I bet it will be hanging on his wall, because it's far too beautiful to use. And a voucher, €75 from Aureus Swords. A Black Armory, €100 voucher, and a t-shirt from Fed Arms. Ladies and gentlemen, the finalists.
Alrighty, so next up we have 2 more awards we're going to give away. We have a technical prize and the best newcomer, and I have the honor to award the technical prize. And before I say who that is, I want to talk a little bit about giving away a technical prize, because I think awarding someone with their technical fencers, not only if they do a couple of really fancy tricks, or if they do really cool stuff out of distance, but then the moment they get close, the whole thing changes. I think technicality is also fighting consistent. From the moment you start in your square all the way to there's an exchange, your technique, your posture, the way you present yourself, if it stays the same, you have a very consistent way of doing that. I think that's also very technical. And if you manage to fight all the way through, from the very beginning to the very last fight, with a consistent way, I think that's something that we should award absolutely as a technical award. And the way we did technical award is that we had all the refs talk to us after each pool, and then we were walking around watching all the fights. And after every round, we would check up with them who they thought would deserve the technical award. And during the eliminations, we checked up on those fighters that we have written down to see how they were performing in the elims, because fighting in pools is very different than fighting in elims. And in the end, there was one name that kept coming back, and the winner of the technical prize is going to get a medal and a beautiful sword from Black Fencer from their steel line. And the winner of the technical prize already has this sword. I would like to invite Johanna Hopfgartner over here for the technical award. She gets a medal, a voucher from the HEMA shop, and a sword from Black Fencer. Another applause, please.
And now we go to another funny prize. This one is really funny. It's the best newcomer. And it's also a technical prize because it's a matter of numbers and things, so it's been arranged. And the best newcomer this year is Wilfred de Lang. And he gets a set of sparring gloves, a medal, and a t-shirt. This is, maybe you have seen it, it's quite an old pair, but he will get a custom set, so this is just an example. Lies. There's one other prize we have to give. Thank you for being here on the stage. And thank you all for staying so long. There's another special prize, and that's a prize I'm very honored to give it away. And I think the one who needs it, the one who deserves it, will know it when I say it. It's a thank you from Dutch Lions Cup 2019 with a small text under it for really working your wrist off. And indeed, it's for Sandra Belder. And the story behind this, she's our webmaster, she did a lot of work. And unfortunately, after that, she had to quit with her wrist with an RSE problem because she had been one weekend working because we wanted to have a nice website. So she had to quit, but she promised next year she'll be there. Thank you. For the last part of this tournament, every organization needs a project manager. And this year we had a project manager, and it's Erlen, and she has the honor to close the event. So, Erlen, it's all yours.
Thank you all. I'm used to being behind the scenes, so standing here for me is a bit awkward. So I will make it short and sweet as well. I have some last-minute requests and thank yous to give. First of all, I want a really big round of applause for the crew. Come on. This year we had a brilliant team. We worked our asses off. Sandra worked her wrist off. And thank you all for coming. Thanks to you as well, obviously. Without you all here, we couldn't do this either. So applause for yourself as well. And I will now really keep it short and sweet. I have one last request to all of you. As you can see, there's still a lot of stuff standing out here. So before you all go, could you please give us a little hand before you leave with packing up some of your stuff, or the stuff here, and have a look around for some rubbish or things like that. So if you could do that, we would be very grateful. So thank you all, and hopefully see you next year.